The human starship Ardent Dawn drifted through the darkness of deep space, her metal hull scarred from months of travel. The crew was tired. Supplies were low. Their mission in an attempt to broker peace between two alien factions had failed. All they wanted now was to go home. Commander Rian Hale sat in the captain's chair, staring out at the dead star ahead. It was a dark, collapsed giant of place where light itself seemed to vanish. No planets, no stations, just cold emptiness. The crew worked in silence. Engines hummed. A few navigation lights flickered. Then the silence broke. A soft beep from the comms console caught Rian's attention. Lieutenant Mara, the comms officer, frowned and adjusted her headset. "Sir, I'm picking up a signal." Rian leaned forward. "From where?" Mara shook her head. "It's weak. Very weak, coming from the star's shadow. And sir, it's not a normal signal." A burst of static filled the room, followed by a slow, deliberate voice crackling in distant Vow. Rian froze. That phrase, that voice, it stirred something deep inside him. "Replay it." Mara tapped controls. The voice came again, unchanged. Vow kept. She turned to him. "Get it. It's an old military distress code, Commander. A format we haven't used in decades." She hesitated. "In the ID tag. It matches the Orion Shield Fleet." Rian's heart pounded. "That's impossible." The Orion Shield Fleet was a legendary part of Earth's history and entire battle group. That vanished during the Karn War. Official records claim they were destroyed 20 years ago. But Rian knew the truth, or at least, his truth. His older brother, Captain Darius Hale, had been aboard the fleet's flagship when it disappeared. The military had declared him dead. The family had buried an empty coffin Rian had never accepted. It now, 20 years later, here was a signal. Using his brother's fleet code, he stood, set a course toward the signal. Lieutenant Mara hesitated. "Sir, the transmission is coming from inside the dead star's gravity well." "That's dangerous, very dangerous." From the navigation pit, Ensign Corey added, "If we get too close, we could lose engine power. The gravity's unpredictable. It's like sailing into a black whirlpool." The rest of the bridge crew exchanged uneasy glances. Rian's voice was firm. "We're going in. Someone sent that signal, and if it's who I think it is, we can't ignore it." The crew obeyed. The ship's engines flared and the Ardent Dawn turned toward the dead star. As they approached, the light from distant suns seemed to fade. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the hull. The air inside the ship felt colder. The signal grew stronger. Now, it repeated every 20 seconds. Vow kept. No other words, no coordinates, no explanation. In the mess hall, crew members whispered about ghost ships and cursed fleets. Some believed the signal was a trap allure from pirates, or worse. Others thought it might be an alien mimic, copying human voices to draw prey closer. But Rian didn't listen to the rumors. All he could think about was his brother, standing on the bridge of the lost flagship, making some vow that had taken 20 years to fulfill. The Ardent Dawn slipped into the star's shadow. The view screens showed nothing but black. Even the navigation charts displayed empty space. Then something massive appeared in front of them. It was a ship. No, not just a Japan-enormous vessel. Easily 5 times the size of the Ardent Dawn. Its hull was a strange mix of human and alien design. Dark metal patched with plates that shimmered faintly in the low light. No markings, no lights. It hung, motionless in the shadow as if hiding from the rest of the galaxy. Mara's voice was barely above a whisper. "Sir, it's not on any registry. It's unmarked." Corey added, "No power signatures I can detect. But the hull's warm. It's alive in there." Rian's eyes locked on the ship. His pulse quickened. "Bring us closer. Minimum speed. Keep scanners active." As they crept forward, the signal changed. The phrase repeated faster now, almost urgent. "Vow kept. Vow. Kept vow. Kept." And then another voice joined the transmission. Different voice, weaker, trembling. "Do not. Come closer." The crew froze. Mara looked at Rian. What now? Rian didn't answer immediately. His instincts told him this was more than just a distress call. Something about that second voice. It sounded human, but strained, as if coming from someone in pain or under pressure. Corey muttered, if that's a warning. Maybe we should listen. But Rian's thoughts were already racing. What if his brother was still alive, trapped inside that giant, unmarked ship? What if this was his only chance to find out the truth? The ardent dawn moved closer until the details of the hull came into view. Deep scratches, strange burns and symbols etched into the metal in a language no one recognized. Suddenly the ship's lights flickered. The gravity inside shifted for a moment, making everyone stumble. Mara's console beeped wildly. Sir, something's locking onto us, not weapons. Tractor beam. Before Rian could respond, the massive vessel's hull split open, revealing a dark hangar bay big enough to swallow the ardent dawn hole. The tractor beam pulled them in. Inside the bay, there were no visible crew, just shadows, echoing footsteps. The moment they crossed the threshold, the comms went dead. The ardent dawn was trapped. Rian's voice was low, almost to himself. Whoever you are, we're here now. The massive doors began to close behind them, sealing off the last view of open space. In the darkness, the voice came one final time, clear, cold, and human. Vow. Kept. The ardent dawn drifted closer, its engines whispering against the pole of the dead star. Outside the viewport, the shadowed shape became sharper. It was a ship, massive, dark, and completely still. No running lights, no transponders. The hull was scarred, as if it had survived battles that should have torn it apart. Commander Rian Hale stood at the glass, his reflection pale against the darkness. That's not just any ship, murmured Lieutenant Caravas, the navigator. It matches the size of an old Titan-class warship. Rian's grip tightened on the railing. Titan-class, just like the ones from the Lost Fleet. The same fleet his brother had vanished with. The crew worked in tense silence. The scanner officer, Leo, frowned at his screen. No life signs. No heat signatures. It's like it's asleep. Kara shot him a look, or dead. Rian didn't. Turn away from the ship. Bring us in. Slow. As they approached, the strange repeating transmission grew louder in the comms room. Vow kept. Vow kept. The words echoed in the metal corridors, making even the most hardened crew shift. Uncomfortably, Engineer Sura kept her eyes on the readings. This thing shouldn't be here. The Dead Star's gravity would have pulled it apart years ago. Something's keeping it in position. Maybe something wants it here, muttered Leo. The docking attempt was tense. The ardent dawn extended. A magnetic clamp, latching onto the warship's side with a deep metallic groan. Rian stepped into the airlock, helmet sealed. 4 armed crew members followed. As the airlock cycled, Rian's voice was steady, but his stomach felt like stone. Remember, we're here to find the source of that signal. Nothing more. If we see trouble, we leave. The doors opened. Inside. The derelict. The corridors were wide and eerily intact. Dust floated like frozen snow in the stale air. Emergency lights flickered, bathing the walls in a faint red glow. They moved deeper. Boots clanging on the metal floor. Captain, these markings, Sora whispered, brushing frost from the wall. This is the Solace. I've seen its registry. Before it vanished with the 3rd Titan Squadron during the Dravik War, Rian's chest tightened. His brother's ship had been in that squadron. They reached the bridge. The control panels were powered down, but a single screen blinked in the S. Captain's chair. Words scrolled slowly across it. Vow kept. Suddenly, the ship's systems hummed to life. The bridge doors slammed shut. Lights brightened to a harsh white. The crew flinched as a cold voice crackled from hidden speakers. Identify yourselves. Rian took a breath. Commander Rian Hell. Human Navy, Exploratory Division. A long silence. Then the voice replied, You are late. The crew exchanged nervous looks. Late for what? Rian demanded. The voice didn't answer directly. Instead, the ship's navigation display lit up. showing star maps, routes leading deep into uncharted space. And then, slowly, a new line of text appeared on the screen. The oath must be fulfilled. Follow, or the vow will be broken. Kara stepped close to Rian. This is insane. It's a ghost ship giving orders. We should go before the ship shuddered. A deep rumble vibrated through the floor. Outside the viewport, the dead star's faint light shifted, as if something in its core was moving. Sewer's voice shook. Commander, I think whatever kept this ship safe is waking up. Rian looked at the map again. His instincts screamed to follow it, but he also felt the heavy pull of the dead. Star, a trap waiting to close. We either trust the ghost, he said quietly, or we die here. The crew stared at him, waiting for his decision. Rian reached out and pressed the button to accept the course. The Solace's engines roared to life after 2 decades of silence. And in that moment, Rian swore he heard another voice, softer and familiar, his brother's voice. I told you I'd keep my vow. The boarding tube clanged as it locked onto the silent ship's hull. The ardent dawn floated beside it like a shadow clinging to another shadow. Inside the airlock, Commander Rian Hale stood in full suit, helmet sealed, breathing slow to keep his nerves in check. Behind him, Lieutenant Mara Voss checked her scanner. No life signs, she said softly. No movement, no heat signatures. Her voice had that uneasy edge, the kind that came when things were too quiet. Let's move, Rian said. His boots clanged against the old metal as he stepped into the unknown vessel. The corridor they entered was dim, lit only by flickering strips of pale light along the ceiling. Dust floated in the air like snow caught in slow motion. Every step echoed in the emptiness. The walls were scuffed, scratched, and here and there streaked with something darker. Not rust. Blood, muttered crewman Derek, the youngest. In the team. His voice cracked a little. But dried for years. Rian glanced at him. Stay sharp. Weapons ready. They reached a wide junction. The markings on the wall were in old Earth Fleet-style letters, faded but still readable. Deck numbers. Engineering. Command, Commander, Mara said, pointing to a door on the left. This leads to the bridge. They pushed it open. The bridge was wrong. Seats were still occupied. Figures slumped forward, strapped into harnesses. Not skeletons, more like dried, mummified bodies. Human uniforms. Earth Fleet insignia. 20 years out of date, Rian's heart kicked in his chest. He walked slowly to the captain's chair. The nameplate was still there. Captain Elias Hale. His breath caught. It was his brother. The crew went silent. Mara's scanner pinged. Suddenly, wait, there's a power source online. Very faint. In the captain's console. Rian reached forward with shaking hands and pressed the activation panel. The screen flickered, showing static, then a single recorded message. Voice dry, weak, but familiar filled the room. If you're hearing this, the vow is kept. We held the line. We never broke. Rian's throat tightened, stepped back, fighting to keep control. Before they could process it, the ship vibrated. A deep metallic groan echoed through the hull. Derek's eyes widened. Commander, we've got movement. Something's powering up. Flickering lights turned a deep pulsing red. Somewhere. In the ship's depths, a klaxon began to sound. Mara checked her scanner again. Still no life signs. But there's something moving toward us. Fast. Out. The sound of heavy metal footsteps rang through the corridor outside. The team backed. Toward the airlock, Rian ordered. But as they neared the junction, a figure stepped into Vutal, armored, with a face hidden behind a smooth metal visor. Its armor bore no insignia. It didn't raise a weapon. It just stood there, blocking the way. Behind it, more footsteps. Approached. Who are you? Rian demanded through the suit cum. The visor tilted slightly, as if studying him. Then a voice came, distorted but cold. You are trespassing on a battlefield that never ended. The lights dimmed to near darkness. From somewhere deeper inside the ship, an engine roared to life, and the massive vessel began to move. The ardent dawn floated in silence beside the unmarked ship. Its dark hull reflected no light, as if it absorbed the stars around it. Commander Rian Hale stood at the docking hatch, helmet on, pulse racing. The air felt thick inside his suit. He could almost hear his brother's voice in the back of his mind. Behind him, Dr. Mara adjusted her scanner. No life signs, but I'm picking up a faint power source. It's steady, not natural. Officer Kellen frowned. This is a trap. We're walking right into it. Rian's gaze stayed fixed on the dark airlock ahead, and we keep our weapons ready. But if there's even a chance someone's alive, we check the docking. Clamps connected with a metallic thud. The hatch opened with a slow hiss, releasing a faint scent of cold metal and something older, almost like dust from centuries past. They stepped into the unmarked ship. The interior was dim, lit only by thin emergency strips along the floor. The walls were a strange alloy, military in shape, but marked with symbols no human ship had ever carried. Mara whispered, "This doesn't look like anything from our fleet. Are we sure it's human?" Kellen touched the wall, feeling the faint vibration of the power source. If it's not, then who's been sending us our own distress code? They moved forward. The corridors twisted unnaturally, not built for easy navigation. The crew's footsteps echoed, swallowed quickly by the heavy air. After 10 minutes of slow movement, they reached a huge double door. It slid open without a sound. The bridge, what was left of it. Rows of control consoles sat dead, their glass surfaces cracked. The captain's chair was turned toward the wide viewing window, and for a moment it looked like someone was still. Sitting there, Rian's breath caught. He moved closer, each step heavy. The figure in the chair was human, or had been. The skeletal remains still wore a navy blue fleet uniform, the insignia of Earth's lost fleet gleaming faintly on the chest. Mara's scanner beeped softly. This is impossible. These remains, they're decades old. Rian swallowed. The name tag on the uniform was half covered by dust, but he brushed it away with trembling fingers. It read, Hale. Kellen's eyes widened. Rian. That's my brother, Rian finished, voice breaking. Or what's left of him. The bridge lights flickered once. Consoles came alive for a second, screens flashing with code and strange symbols. Then, in the middle of the room, a hologram appeared. It was Rian's brother, not as a skeleton, but alive young, wearing his old uniform, eyes calm. Rian, the hologram said softly, if you're seeing this, get my vow. The crew froze. The hologram continued. I found something out here, something in the fleet. Couldn't understand. We couldn't return, not without leading it back, so we stayed. Rian stepped forward. Who's we? What's it? The hologram's face darkened. The darkness near this star, it's alive. It learns, and it's listening now. If you've come this far, it already knows you. The lights dimmed again. Somewhere deep in the ship, metal groaned, as if something massive had shifted. Kellen gripped his weapon. We need to get out of here, now. But Rian stood still, eyes locked on the fading hologram. His brother's voice was softer now. You have one chance. Leave this place. Don't look back. The vow was to keep it here. But now it may follow you. The hologram blinked. Out. The bridge went dark. Then came the sound like a low, hungry whisper moving through the metal walls. Mara's scanner went wild. It's here. Whatever it is, it's coming. The crew turned toward the door. But as they reached it, the lights in the corridor began shutting off one by one, as if something was chasing the darkness toward them. The bridge of the ardent dawn was tense, the air heavy with unspoken fears. Commander Rian Hale stood near the viewport, watching the alien carrier drift closer. Its surface shimmered with strange patterns, like the hull itself was alive. Every pulse of light matched the rhythm of a heartbeat. Dr. Venn broke the silence. It's communicating, but not with us. It's talking to that Earth ship. On the screens, the Resolute, the ghost ship from Earth's lost fleet, remained silent. But its lights were on now, glowing faintly as though the crew were still. Inside, Rian's thoughts were sharp and cold. His brother might be there, 20 years. But if the fleet had been hidden, maybe they had survived, or maybe what was left of them wasn't truly human anymore. Suddenly, the alien ships comes lit up with a strange, guttural tone. Nova leaned forward at her station, translating. Your vow is not yet fulfilled. The Guardians still wait. The voice was layered alien and human at once. Captain. Drex turned to Rion. What does that mean to you? Rion hesitated. Before my brother's ship left Earth, he told me they had a final mission to guard something important. But no one ever said what? Guard it from what? Ven asked. The ship shook suddenly. The alien carrier was activating. A beam of blue energy locking on to the Resolute. Shields up, Drex ordered. We don't know what they're doing. No, Rion shouted. If they've been here this long, maybe this is part of the vow. We need to see it through. The crew exchanged uneasy looks, but Drex, after a long pause, gave the signal to hold position. On the screen, the blue beam intensified, and slowly the Resolute began to move, drawn toward a rift in space. The rift wasn't natural. It looked like a black wound, tearing light apart. Nova's eyes widened. That's not a wormhole. It's a prison. A cold silence filled the bridge. The alien ship sent another message, this time directly to the Ardent Dawn. The vow is unbroken. Will you take it now? The crew stared at Rion. What if we refuse? Ben asked quietly. Before Rion could answer, the lights flickered. The Ardent Dawn's systems went offline, every display dead except for one. It showed an image burned into Rion's memory. His brother's face, unchanged, staring straight at him. Rion. It's your turn. The voice wasn't a recording, it was live. The crew froze. Drex whispered, that's impossible. But Rion knew in his bones it was real. The rift widened, swallowing the Resolute. The alien ship turned toward them, waiting, and Rion understood. Whatever his brother had been guarding for 2 decades, now it was his responsibility. But the question was what was inside that prison, and why had it been kept there so long? The rift pulsed again, and something inside moved the Ardent. Dawn floated in the Dead Star's shadow, silent except for the hum of life support. Commander Rian Hale stood at the forward viewport, his eyes locked on the enormous, unmarked ship they had found. It was ancient, scarred, and wrapped in drifting debris like a shroud. The bridge was tense. No one spoke loudly. Every crew member could feel it, the weight of something impossible. The signal they had chased across light years had come from this ship. It's the same ship that shouldn't exist. Docking clamps. Ready? Said Engineer Leora quietly. Her hands shook. Rion nodded. Bring us in. The docking process was slow, the 2 ships touching with a deep metallic thud. The airlock cycled. A cold hiss filled the corridor as ancient air mixed with. There's Rion led the boarding team. The interior was dark, lit only by their suit lights. The walls were covered in frost. Ice crystals floated in the low gravity, drifting like tiny ghosts. The silence was overwhelming until a faint voice broke it. Vow kept. It was the same words they'd heard in the signal. What? Crew froze. Who said that? Whispered Leora. They followed the sound through winding corridors. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, the command deck. At its center sat a man in a tattered Earth Fleet uniform. His hair was white, his skin pale, his eyes burning with determination. Rion's breath caught in his throat. Adrian. The man slowly turned his head. Rion, you came. It was his brother. Older, thinner, but alive. I thought you died. 20 years ago, Rion said, his voice breaking. Adrian gave a weak smile. We made a vow. The fleet swore to guard what we found until the day came when Earth was ready. We kept that vow. But now, his eyes flickered to the crew. Now it's your turn. Rion stepped closer. Guard what? What did you find? Adrian's hand trembled as he pointed to a sealed vault behind. The command chair. Inside is a map, a path, to the edge of the galaxy. Beyond it, something not meant for them to have. Them? Leora asked. Before Adrian could answer, the ship's systems suddenly roared to life. Red lights bathed the room. A deep, inhuman voice echoed through the chamber. Intruders detected. Protocol Omega initiated. The wall shook. Somewhere deep in the ship, machinery began to move. Rian grabbed his brother's arm. We're leaving now. But Adrian shook his head. No, my vow ends here. Yours begins. Take the map and run. The crew hesitated, torn between saving him and obeying his final request. The deck beneath them groaned as the ship's ancient weapons powered up. Rian looked at his brother one last time. I'll finish what you started, I swear it. Adrian smiled faintly. Then the vow is kept. The crew rushed to the vault. Inside, glowing softly, was a crystalline disk. Rian snatched it, feeling the strange weight of history in his hands. They sprinted back toward the airlock as explosions shook the ship. Behind them, Adrian remained seated, watching them go. The ardent dawn detached, just as the ancient vessel erupted in a burst of blinding light, swallowed by the dead star's gravity. Silence returned to space. On the bridge, Rian stared at the crystalline disk. Whatever was on it, it had cost 20 years and an entire fleet to protect, and now it was his. But far away, in the darkness between stars, something had already noticed the vow had been passed on.